Hello friends, welcome to day 7, March 27th. Today we're going to read our next journey story called Life on the Ice. Before we read, I want to talk a little bit about the target skill, which is main idea and details. We've talked a lot about this year. Just to give you some more visuals, I pulled up some anchor charts. So we have our main idea, right? And then our details, our supporting details, are really like the legs of a chair. Another way to think about this is like an ice cream scoop, right? So you have a main idea, and then your details are like the ice cream on top. So without your main idea, you can't have your details. Just like on here, without your main idea, the 3 legs of a stool, you can't, or without your main idea here, you can't really have those legs. All of these details support the main idea. So our genre is an informational text. It gives you facts and information. So do you think this is going to be fiction or nonfiction? It's going to be nonfiction. It's true, right? It's informational. It gives you info. There's photos and captions. Somebody didn't draw this. They took it with a camera, right? These are actual pictures. And it gives you important details about us that support big ideas about a topic. All right. Life on the Ice by Susan E. Goodman. The top and the bottom of our planet are covered with ice. The top, the Arctic, is home to the North Pole. It can be so cold that a cup of hot water thrown in the air will explode into a cloud of ice particles. The North Pole is located in the middle of the Arctic Ocean and is usually covered by ice. The South Pole is at the bottom of our planet, on the continent of Antarctica. This region is even colder than the Arctic, sometimes plunging to negative 125 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 87.2 degrees Celsius. In winter, parts of the oceans surrounding Antarctica freeze over, doubling its size. Antarctica is the coldest, driest, windiest place on Earth. It is so isolated that no human had even seen this continent until about 200 years ago. The ice covering Antarctica contains about 70% of the world's fresh water. So think about that. The ice in this one place on the planet has 70% of fresh water. Pretty crazy. Places this cold, this extreme, are hard to imagine. In fall, the sun sets and doesn't rise again for the entire winter. Months long, it shines 24 hours a day, all summer long. Even though they are covered by ice, these regions are deserts, dry, like the Sahara. Very little snow falls in either place, but when it does, it rarely melts. Over time, the snow becomes ice. In some places, almost 3 miles, 5 kilometers thick. Icebergs can be as small as a piano or larger than a small country. So these are icebergs right here. This ice is slowly moving, inching from the middle of the Arctic and Antarctica to their coasts. By the time pieces break off into the ocean and become icebergs, the ice is 100,000 years old. People fly thousands of miles to reach the poles, and when the winds kick up and blow the snow around, it's hard to know where the sky ends and the land begins. Pilots say that it's like flying inside a ping pong ball. Many of the instruments normally used to guide planes won't work there. In fact, navigators flying to the poles are the only ones left in the U.S. Air Force who still help map their route with the stars. This is some of the hardest flying there is. Planes do not land in these wintry worlds by rolling down concrete runways. They use skis instead, and they slide like giant sleds until they stop. Gliding along, the skis get so hot that they melt the snow they're resting on. Pilots must pull them up when the planes stop. Otherwise, the wet snow would refreeze on the skis, and the planes would be stuck to the ground. When pilots land at the South Pole, they keep their engines running. It's so cold that they might not start up again. It sounds like an adventure story, doesn't it? It is an adventure story, one with science. Scientists are today's explorers, braving the wilderness to learn more about our world. The snow near the North Pole, for example, hasn't melted since the last ice age. Over 100,000 years of it has been pressed into an ancient sheet almost 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers thick. But each layer looks separate, like the rings of a tree. We talked about the rings of a tree when we did a tree growing. Some scientists use this snow to measure air pollution. Others are drilling through this ice to pull out history. Each sample they bring up tells a story about the time when it was formed. Scientists have found volcanic ash from Italy's Mount Vesuvius, for instance, and pollution from ancient Roman times. Scientists began this experiment to learn more about how ice ages begin and end. Before, they thought our climate needed thousands of years to change. Now, they know it can happen much, much faster. So she has some snow here, and it says that they drill through the ice. So every time they drill, they cut through the ice, they find things that remained or things that were left over from different times, and it tells them about what happened on the planet. At the South Pole, some scientists search for meteorites, rocks from outer space. Meteorites are no more likely to fall than anywhere else on Earth. But, as one scientist explains, if you want to find something dark, it's easier to look on a big white sheet. His team has given thousands of meteorites to our space agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, for study. So it's easier to find them because it's white, and if you're walking along on the snow, you can see this really dark rock. It's a lot harder to find these if you just went outside. It might just look like any rock. The Antarctic sky is a perfect window to the stars, the best place on this planet. It is very clear because it's so cold and dry, and has a night that is 6 months long. Can you imagine having nighttime for 6 months? Some scientists use telescopes to study the age of the universe. Others fly balloons to measure rays coming in from outer space. At the poles, people wear many layers of clothing to keep warmth in and the wind out. They wear big boots and overalls called fat boy pants. Their mittens have furry backs to wipe their noses and warm their ears. They also wear goggles. Without them, their ears would get sunburned and temporarily blinded. Or their eyes would get sunburned. Oh my goodness. And temporarily blinded by the strong light bouncing off the snow. No wearing rings, earrings, or sunglasses with metal frames in the extreme cold. Metal gets so cold that it will freeze any skin that it touches. People who work at the poles must learn how to survive being stuck outdoors. On an unexpected camping trip, they first build a quick shelter to get out of the wind. Then they build a better one and pack in close to one another, using body heat to stay warm. Building shelters, doing any work, is much harder in the extreme cold. Mittens are very bulky, but it's unsafe to go barehanded for long. Getting too cold is dangerous, but so is getting overheated. Sweat can freeze into a layer of ice next to your body. The body is like a furnace that needs fuel to keep running. It works so hard to stay warm at the poles that people end up eating at least twice as much food as usual. In summer, many people live at the science stations in the Arctic and Antarctica. They have a gym and videos and spend their spare time skiing on the icy runways. But mostly they work hard, getting as much done as possible while the weather is warm enough for planes to fly in and out. A few of them stay all winter long. Scientists say that summer's constant daylight tricks your body into wanting to keep going without rest. But in winter's endless darkness, you feel tired much of the time. One scientist even studies the people who winter over at the South Pole. He wants to know what kind of person works well in such a small, isolated group. Someday, his findings may help pick the people who live in a colony on Mars. Unlike most refrigerators, the one containing fruit and vegetables at the South Pole is heated. Why do you think they might have to heat a refrigerator? Or heat food in a refrigerator instead of keeping it cold? That's pretty crazy. It's got to be so cold that they have to keep things warm, otherwise they'll freeze. In spring in Antarctica, the temperature finally climbs up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, -10 Celsius, and it's warm enough for planes to fly in again. The scientists are eager to get on board and return to the colors and smells of the green world. Once they buckle up, there is one last frosty problem to solve. The airplane must go to 100 miles, 160 kilometers per hour, to take off. No easy task when sliding over ice. Sometimes pilots must travel 2 miles to reach that speed. And sometimes they need extra help. Then they turn to the 8 rockets attached to their plane. A flick of the switch, a burst of flames and speed, and they are on their way home. All right, so your task today is to complete pages 57 and 60, so I'm going to show you those. The phonics skill for this week is compound words. Those are 2 words that come together to make one word. So if we look at the first one on page 57, it's chalkboard. So we have the word chalk plus the word board equals chalkboard. Or what we use, white plus board, which equals whiteboard. So you're going to read the clues at the bottom of this page and fill in what words they're talking about. So number 1 says, this helps you see in the dark. Chalkboard, cookbook, fireplace, flashlight, homework, newspaper, outside, snowshoes, toothbrush, or underwater. So I know that a flashlight, didn't want to do that. A flashlight is what helps me see in the dark. So I'm going to write flashlight. And I'm going to write FLASHLIGHT. Good. So number 2, you wear these to walk in the snow. So you might not know what these are called, but let me flip back to the page. You know that shoes are what you wear outside, and snow, you can make a guess, it's going to be snowshoes. You wear these to walk in the snow. Snowshoes. SNOWSHOES. You're going to fill in the rest of these, and then it says, what is the coldest place on Earth? Everything that you fill in the gray box is going to give you your answer, and you're going to write that answer on the line. All right, number 60. We're going to skip those 2. Spelling word sort. So read each basic word, listen to the number of syllables. Write each word under the correct heading. It's been a little bit since we've done syllables, but remember there's 2 tricks. You can clap, or you can put your hand under your chin as you say the word. So if we do birthday, we can clap it out. Birthday. So I clapped twice, so I know birthday has 2 syllables, and I'm going to write birthday right here. If I go to number 4, everything, I'm going to clap out everything. Everything. Everything has 3 syllables. I'm going to write it on the line. You're going to go through 1 through 14, do these 2 review words, and then the challenge word. For the challenge, it says, which challenge word has 4 syllables? And then you're going to add those to the word sort. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to dojo me, Mrs. Stack, Mrs. Bardroff, Mr. Rivera, Mr. Joya, any of your teachers, and then you can also email us. Please, please take pictures of your work and send it in to us. You can text us, Dojo, however you want to get it to us, but we would love to see what you guys are working on. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.